Abortion is on the ballot in 2024. And since the fall of Dobbs, that's good news for Democratic turnout, we think. Welcome to MOMocrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli, and later on, Aliza Worthington will be joining us. Karoli, of course, is the editor of crooksandliars.com. And, I kind of want to hold on to the abortion bill talk until Aliza gets here, because
Well, that's fine.
that is one of her areas of expertise.
Yeah.
And
We've got other things we can talk
we've
about,
got lots of things to talk about. I
like
mean,
all the,
one of the most disturbing things that I read this week was that Washington Post article about Richard Grenell conducting foreign policy for Trump.
shadow foreign. Yeah. I mean, so what we basically have is Trump pretending he's a shadow president
Hmm.
and sending out his minions to be shadow state secretaries of state and, things like that. And it's really, I mean, just imagine if Hillary had done that,
Oh my God.
right? I mean,
The
we would be sick.
audaciousness of
I,
all of it. And I mean, we always do that. Imagine if Obama had done that. Imagine if Hillary had done that.
mhm.
Imagine if Joe Biden had done that. And and the media reports on this like it's, oh, okay, this is happening. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this a violation of the Logan Act?
It seems like it to me. I mean, it seems like, but then, I mean, this is my biggest rant about him. He does all these things. Republicans do all these things. They're a fucking crime ring. Okay, I broke the ice on that one, and they
Well,
get away with it. I
well,
mean,
it goes back to Vietnam.
yeah,
It goes back to undermining LBJ on Vietnam and then undermining Carter on Iran.
yep.
I mean,
It wasn't an accident. Those hostages were released on the day Reagan was inaugurated. I mean, it's
no.
not.
It took us years to confirm that, but
Yeah,
it was not an accident.
no,
And it's infuriating, and they never suffer any consequences from it.
right. And this is my biggest rant is that so now we're finally trying to get some consequences going, right?
Mhm.
We have the Florida case, we have the January 6th case, we have the Atlanta case. I mean, there's all these things. And what is the primary, whine that we hear is that the poor Donald Trump is being persecuted, that it's election interference, that it's boo fucking who, you're being mean to me stuff. And it's,
It's
you just
only election interference because he decided to run when these criminal and civil cases were filed.
right. And he wants to, and his whole reason for running is so that he can weasel out, slither out from under these cases. I mean, we can talk about all the reasons why people should vote for Biden in November, but to me the primary reason to vote for Biden is because Trump needs to go to fucking jail.
Well, it's not even to get out of the criminal cases. You know, Jared is making deals all over the place. Um, Trump's talking to MBS right and left.
Well, and Jared met with Bibi in December.
Yeah,
Right? And then
yeah.
made a statement about how the lovely Gaza beachfront property would be to develop or whatever it was that he said.
That was the worst because he's like, let's clear it out
Yeah,
so we
right. So
can
that
turn
we can,
Gaza into a resort.
right, exactly. Which just makes everything more fraught when it comes
Yeah.
to that region. And it's like, so we know without actually even proving, but we know it, that there's interference. The real election interference is what they're doing with MBS, what they're doing with BB, right? And to the point where Biden basically threatened him yesterday, that they were going to start conditioning aid
Well,
on how he conducts himself with this war. And and this is not, I'm not anti-Israeli, okay?
No,
Just like,
you over all these weeks,
mhm,
I think I've been harsher on Israel
mhm.
than all 3 of us, of the
Yeah.
3 of us, you
I
know?
mean, I just Bibi's gotta go. I mean, and I know
Yeah,
that there's Israelis in the street. There's people, hostage families in the street
yeah,
demanding a new election. So it's not like I'm saying something that isn't pretty much popular opinion over there.
but
I
bombing the hell out of the Gazans and starving them to death is
is
not getting them any closer to getting the hostages back.
right,
And what happened to the World Central Kitchen staffers on Monday is utterly horrific, especially with the knowledge that they let the Israeli government and the IDF know that they were there
right.
and what they were doing. And yet they were still targeted and decimated.
Their logo was on the top of the car.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there's no excuse for that. We know the precision that Israelis have when it comes to
yeah,
bombing. We get
yeah.
it.
No,
So
it
you're
was
yeah,
Jose Andres is furious,
as
as
he
he
should,
should be. These people were just in there trying to help.
trying to feed starving people
Right.
who
Because
are people at their heart. They're not monsters, they're people. And I don't care. I mean, yes, I know that Hamas is evil and hides their kind. And you know what? People are
we're
starving.
beyond that. We're beyond
We're
that now.
past that. Right.
We're
People
beyond
are
that now. These
starving.
people
Children
have
are
been,
starving.
yeah,
And I'm sorry, but I can't like go to sleep at night knowing that, right? I donated to World Kitchen to feed them because they need to, their kids need to eat.
yeah. There she is.
Sorry.
Hey, we started on Israel without you.
You started Israel without me?
We did, because we held abortion for you though.
Yeah, we
Oh,
held
okay,
a
good.
question for you.
Are you done with Israel, or are you still talking, or
I think we pretty much, I don't know. What do you think, Donna? We addressed the World Kitchen attacks on,
yeah,
and the fact that at this point, what's happening, excuse me, sorry, just a
that's
minute.
okay.
Basically, that Joe Biden has conditioned or is threatening to condition support
Further aid.
because I
Right.
do think that what happened on Monday could be the turning point in
I
this
hope so.
war because it's pretty
Yeah,
hard to defend what the IDF did.
yeah, yeah. Um, which is, good and bad, only because it shows you that certain lives matter more than others. But, um, you know, certain, I'm sure you covered this already, but
Well, I don't. So I
I
don't
know.
think that it matter. I don't think that it's necessarily a case where certain lives matter more than others. I think we're at a point where people who are feeding starving children shouldn't be killed, regardless of who they are. Right? I mean, they shouldn't be. We know that the IDF targets pretty precisely, and so they had World Kitchen on the top of their cars. They
yeah,
had advance notice, and yet they were killed. Not just one car, but three of them were bombed, and they were there to feed starving children. There's no excuse for that. I don't think it's a question of valuing one person's life more than another. It's just that thing that doesn't negate or in any way change the lives of the hostages who are there, who
no,
are
no, no,
being.
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I meant. But what I meant is that, well, what you said brings up two interesting things. Let me clarify. The killing of innocent civilians in Gaza was, was allegedly happening all over the place. Of course, those of us with thinking brains and working brains understand that that's largely because of how Hamas operates. But the killing of one American and 6 aid workers, or however many other, I don't, was it 7? How many people were killed in the World Kitchen?
I think it was 7.
But there were
Was it
7.
7 total?
Yeah.
You know, that's too much. And so that's the thing that makes Biden say, you know, that's what I'm hearing from people. But the other thing that, you know, Karoli's point made me think of is that, which is it? Does Israel indiscriminately bomb people, or do they bomb with precision?
I think
I
they
think
bomb
they do
with
both.
precision. And I think that their bombs are very destructive, but I think they're pretty precise about what they do.
I don't know. I feel like it's not working. Hamas really doesn't care how many people,
No,
how many Palestinians are killed, because
right,
they're winning the public relations war.
exactly.
Well, and
And
so
they knew that.
They knew that.
And Israel just went
walked
right
right
for it,
into
just
it.
manipulated right into it the same way we did after 9/11.
Right. And
With
and here's what
Netanyahu's
I
blessing, you know,
Yeah.
it was an absolute, you know, he thought it was going to be a boon for him
Well, yeah.
and keep him out of jail.
And I do think that many of these right-wing Israelis do want to just wipe out
there's no
the other
question about
people
that.
living there. You
Yeah.
I
know,
mean,
for some of these people, there is a genocidal motive.
yeah. Not everybody. But the thing
No.
is, you have Israelis in the streets saying, "Stop this."
Yeah.
Right? I
Family
mean, it's
hostages
not it
saying
isn't
stop it.
so when I can draw a distinction between how I feel about the government and specifically Netanyahu and the rest of Israelis who also don't want to go to sleep at night knowing that there's children being starved by the actions of their nation.
Well, also knowing that this is just going to come back and hit them again as the survivors grow up with the anger of what happened, it just perpetuates the cycle of violence.
I mean, this is the crux of it right here, right? Is that they what's happening now will train a generation again to hate and want to be violent.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if this
It's
cycle
not
isn't
working.
ended and changed in some way, that region is never going to see peace.
I mean, I'm going to be the voice of dissent again on that,
Good.
because I mean, I agree with the need to break the cycle of violence, but I don't think that responsibility lies solely with the Israelis.
I don't think it's solely with the Israelis either, but I
And
don't think
but that's the way it seems. That's the way it seems. Why are people not calling on Hamas to surrender the way they're calling on Israel for restraint? Why are they not calling on Qatar and Iran, or whoever might be giving quarter to the leaders of these people, these monsters who come up with things like October 7th and carry them out? Why are they not being called on to be the ones to break the cycle of violence? Why,
Because
why,
Hamas,
why wait a minute, no, why are the families of the hostages the ones who, instead of mourning and instead of grieving and having to deal with how on God's green earth they're going to go on with their lives, knowing what has happened, in some cases, seeing what has happened to their loved ones, and for the ones who haven't come home yet, wondering what is happening with their loved ones, Why are they the ones who are also burdened with standing in the streets and fighting their own government and saying, stop bombing the Palestinians? Why are they in this position? Why? It's not fair to be putting all, I mean, I understand. I mean, I gotta say, there's so much anti-Semitism in this. The fact that there's all this pressure on Israel. Why is there not pressure on Hamas? Why? What?
I'll give you an answer to some of that. I mean, some of that is that Israel has about 150 bazillion times the power that Hamas has. Hamas conducted one attack. They're not going to get another chance. It was a surprise attack. They don't have they can lob their stupid missiles, but the whatchamacallit, the Iron Dome catches those and everything.
Right. And in the meantime, Israeli children have to spend their birthdays in bomb shelters. It's not.
I mean, I don't think it's anti-Semitic to expect Israel to conduct a war in such a way that civilians are protected.
Well, it is hard to protect civilians when the terrorists are hiding among them.
Okay,
but terrorists are not only hiding among them, they're hiding under their schools, they're hiding under their bomb, they're hiding in their hospitals, they're hiding in their mosques. They're doing, and yet, somehow Israel is held to this standard where, that no other country at war is held to.
That's because Hamas very strategically,
yes,
is not capable of fighting back the same way. So what is happening is you've got a famine beginning there. You've got people, the number of people who are dying in Gaza. I hate to use the word overkill, but I mean, it's not getting us any closer to getting the hostages, is it?
No, it isn't. It's totally not. And
if something is not working, maybe they need to change their tactics.
I agree. I don't disagree with that. What I do disagree with is the unrelenting blame that is landing in Israel's lap for this attack and for what's happening now, for the famine. Hamas is to blame for these starving children. Hamas is to blame. Hamas. And the fact, I am thoroughly uninvested in the idea that there's nobody who knows where they are, and there's nobody who can help turn them in the Middle East and the surrounding countries. I don't believe that for a goddamn minute. And those countries are helping to be responsible for those starving Gazans. If they wanted to help Palestinians, they could let them in.
That's true.
And when we withdrew, we broke the cycle of violence when we were in Gaza and it was thriving. And we pulled out of Gaza and they elected Hamas. So again, the unbelievable insistence that Israel is to blame for the cycle of violence and is I'm sorry. I think there's some anti-Semitism in that when nobody is coming in, the people are saying, well, in order to break the cycle of violence, we have to get the terrorists out of here.
So nobody's disagreeing. I'm certainly not disagreeing with the fact that you got to get the terrorists out of there. I'm not.
But where do you hear it?
It's hard to say, well, it's all Hamas's fault when Netanyahu and
I didn't say that.
I make the distinction between the government and the people for a second, okay? Specifically is blessing and allowing for settlements in the West Bank. I mean, he's never shied away from that.
But that's why a year ago, you had people in the IDF in uniform protesting in the streets, which is highly unusual.
But that's what I'm saying. It's
so the Israelis were against that too, and they, so I mean, every country, every democracy has their problems. We're not any better in this country. Where do we get off telling Israel, the only true democracy, maybe Egypt in the Middle East, that you're doing it wrong? Where do we get off doing that? Look what we do to people in this country.
All I have to say about that is, and then we move on to abortion.
Yeah.
We are, as taxpayers, we are definitely funding aid to Israel. I don't have a problem with that. I think that is something we've done since the World War II. It's not going to change. So I'm not here to criticize it, but I am here to say it does give everybody sort of a vested interest in saying, do we want our tax money to go to these things? That's all. Right?
Well, plenty of our tax money went to help the Palestinians too. I mean, we sent them.
Actually, those tax dollars are sitting and blocked ports waiting to come in. That's my frustration right now. And I guess Netanyahu finally, and again, this is not a condemnation of Israelis as a whole. It is Bibi saying, you can sit there and rot for all I care, right? Now he's finally.
I'm talking about before October 7th. We continue to send.
There's been blockades of Palestinian aid going on for years. So, I mean, that's not new. That I remember that from back in Obama's days. So,
Bibi has been intransigent from the beginning. And you did miss the part, Aliza, where we were talking about how he and Jared have been plotting.
Yes. I read about that. And also, was it Benny Gantz that called for early elections?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered that.
No. We did not cover that because we had not intended to go right into we
hadn't planned on that. We were like, we'll do abortion first. And here we are solving the Middle East problems, which honestly we're not going to do. So
we can't solve. And
sorry, I've lost a bunch of friends, just a couple this month, over my,
well, you haven't lost us as friends. I appreciate.
No, I haven't lost you guys, but I've lost, a lot of friends in the social justice space who were all too happy when, or their only issue with what happened October 7th is what was going to happen to the Palestinians. And they had absolutely zero empathy, or at least they expressed zero empathy for what happened to the Israelis. Not all of whom were Jewish, by the way. And
it's a wedge. And that's honestly, that's one of the reasons that I'm glad that we can at least have this much of a discussion about it.
Yeah.
We're not going to fix it. We're not going to come up with magic solutions, but understand it is a wedge in our party.
Yeah.
And it's a bad one. I mean, we're going to have to figure out a way for us to overcome that too.
Yeah. The Washington Post today had a Democrats in disarray headline. They've been aching to use that.
They were like, finally.
It's so unified. And they're saying because of Israel, there is Democrats in disarray again,
I know. And I see people on Twitter and other places saying, Biden's going to lose if he doesn't, kick.
Oh, that's horseshit. He's not going to lose because of that.
Well, I don't think kicking Netanyahu to the curb is up to him for starters, right?
And it shouldn't be.
Right. So anyway, it's a wedge, and it's something that really at some point we're going to have to say to our fellow people who don't want Trump, you're going to have to set this aside right now and think about how you want to work on it in Biden's second term. But first we got to get to second term, right?
Right.
Or there will never be another Democratic election.
Right. Because you're going to have Jared and Bibi, saying goodnight to each other every night.
And I'm getting pushback. I'm seeing all the pushback from the young progressive leftists who are saying that they don't like us lecturing them on that. That doesn't matter.
I hear that too, but I'll tell you what, the progressive activists in a space that are actually doing the work are like, yeah, we got to get Biden reelected. We got to get past this. So the people that are sort of on social media, and there's also a lot of active measures going on around this whole thing. I mean, they want to drive into us, right?
Yes.
So that's why we have to resist it.
They want to drive what into us? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Drive a wedge into us. They want to divide us the way Republicans are divided right now, because that benefits them. So, there's Russia is playing around with this, and I saw, that China is also doing some work on this space, and so it's really important that we have the discussions that we have, and then agree to disagree in some cases, or we'll come back and talk about it more when we have more information, whatever.
Right, because if Trump's elected, we're not going to be able to even have this discussion.
That's right.
Yeah. So
let's
should we move
sorry
on
to prolong that discussion, and that was my that was my 2 cents.
It's okay.
So
that's
should we talk
exactly
about
what
Florida?
We should be doing. Let's talk about Florida.
I was in Florida. I was in Florida a few weeks ago to see an O's game, and I was really happy to see. I went to see an O's spring training game, and I don't know if you guys saw this picture I put on Instagram or not, but there was a guy sitting maybe 10 rows in front of me that had a big white T-shirt on it, and it had the word "gay" in rainbow colors about it, printed on the T-shirt in all different directions. Maybe 45 different times, 40 different. It was clearly a "Say Gay" T-shirt, and it was pretty heartwarming. I wanted to go up to him and be like, can I be your best friend?" But I didn't. I restrained myself. But yeah.
What is also heartwarming is that it looks like there will be a ballot measure to return reproductive rights to the people of Florida.
Right. So just to recap, right? So that everybody knows, the Supreme Court let the 6-week abortion ban go into effect in Florida.
Yeah.
Which is
ridiculous. I mean, that's a full abortion ban, to be honest.
It's a total abortion ban.
Yeah. Right. But they also allowed for a ballot initiative to go forward that would add abortion as a protected right up to 24 weeks or something in the Constitution. So that puts Florida in play for Democrats. But I'm going to tell you right now, Florida's Democratic Party is a mess. So whatever we do there, we've got to be really strategic about it, because it's
How long until the ballot measure is voted on? When does that happen?
November.
Oh, November. So from now until November, it's a total abortion ban.
Yeah.
Oh, the abortion ban goes into effect May 1st.
Oh,
the 15-week ban is in effect now. The 6-week ban.
So essentially, okay. So there's 3 more weeks. It's the 5th day, so there's basically 3 more weeks of a 15-week abortion ban, which is bad enough, if you don't mind my saying. But then starting from May 1st to November, whatever, 3rd or 4th or whenever.
November 5th. Yeah.
November 5th. Okay. So we'll get it it's going to be on the ballot. Wow. So people have to work really hard in Florida, the Democratic Party.
What does make it good is that so far, when this has been on the ballot, it has helped turn out, and it has won.
Yeah, everywhere. Everywhere it's been on the ballot.
Right.
In surprising places.
Yeah. Now, the thing about Florida is that Florida is full of really wacky evangelicals. I mean, really wacky. People we just stand back and go, really? So it's going to be a challenge.
What's special about Florida in that way, I wonder?
I
Is it the
don't
weather?
know. I maybe I just don't
Like
know.
for
But
retirees, or I don't know.
yeah, whatever it is,
It's
I'm
the
not sure.
humidity.
Yeah, it expands the brain or something or puts pressure on it. I don't know, but
But
it's
there's
yeah,
also abortion bills on the ballot in New York and Maryland.
right.
And there are petition drives to get it on the ballot in Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, and South Dakota. And I heard speculation today where someone um, compared these abortion bills to what W did in 2004
With gay
with
people.
anti-gay marriage,
Yeah,
Mm,
and it brings out the base.
it does
yeah.
bring out the base, and it unites the base, which is what we
Yes,
need
we
because
need.
our just I mean our party in general, because we're such a big tent, we tend to fight over everything, right? And then it looks like we're in, that's why Democrats in disarray becomes a thing,
So
Right,
even
popular.
right. So
right.
like this is a uniting thing. But in addition to that, I mean, the Supreme Court basically said states have to decide this. So yeah, we're going to put it on the ballot in all the states and make sure that they decide it, right? I
Yes.
mean,
Especially since the conservatives are not happy with just Dobbs. They're going after contraception. They're going after IVF.
right,
Um, you know,
right.
Right.
we have
In
to.
the one state where it's really affected IVF, I mean, that's had you should excuse me, seismic effect. No
Yeah,
pun intended for, New York and
Alabama.
New Jersey today, but
Yeah,
that's that was in the news for a long time, and that has really tied the Republicans up in knots, the whole
Yeah.
IVF mess.
And
well,
yet they
And
keep
I'm not
on trying to
you
legislate against IVF.
yeah.
and then you have the messaging that's coming around all of this, and it starts on the fringe always, right? This is how it works, and then it works its way up into Fox News and other. So we had Charlie Kirk this week say that women, young women should not do birth control because it turns them into bitter people who become Democrats. I mean, that's so absurd on its face. I don't even know what to say about it, but it isn't the first time I've heard this. Steve Bannon has also said it, and
Yeah, we're bitter
there's
people who enjoy sex. I mean, how
No
bitter can
wonder
we
they're all incels.
seriously?
it's just it's absurd, but it is what I don't only say this because I see this as being the natural progression
Yeah,
for IVF to birth
yeah.
control
Yeah.
to the next thing will be no fault marriage goes away, and
That's
Or
already
that's on the
starting.
well,
table too.
divorce rather, sorry.
Yeah, that's on the table too.
Yeah,
That's all right. They're already talking about that.
They are.
right. And so what they would like is for women to live back in the dark ages when the next thing to go would be voting. There was some pastor, some whacknut pastor this week who said women shouldn't vote because if they vote,
But
we're never going to
Republican,
have a Christian nation, he said.
the Republican candidate for governor in which Carolina is it? North Carolina. I keep getting North and
No,
South
North
confused.
Carolina, the black
Yeah,
guy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Mark Robinson. He said the same
Right.
thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's it's a moment where we have to mobilize and we have to stay united and we have to nip this effort by these wacko men in the bud. I'm sorry,
It's
but
an
this is
opportunity. It's a real opportunity, I
yeah,
think. And
agree.
if we don't take advantage of it, then shame on us. And the as far as Florida goes, you may have a crap ton of wacko evangelicals there, but you also have a crap ton of Jews.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I'm not saying
And
you
then
don't
you
have
have
your
a
fair
crap
share of
ton of
Republican
wacky
Jews.
Jews.
Yeah, you have your wacky Jews down there. You
Yeah,
have your Republicans, but you have plenty of Democratic Jews down there too.
Yeah,
Deborah Wasserman Schultz wasn't elected however many times she was for no reason.
true.
And it's it can happen. It can happen. However messed up the party is, I hope they manage to get it together in that state.
Well, I'm hoping that they're going to sense the good news is that Biden has lots of money and he's using it strategically. So we're seeing field
Very
offices
smart.
being opened, we're seeing organizing, and that's what has to happen. I mean, I made the comment, I don't know, probably a month ago, that we needed a Ben Wickler to be in Florida to organize the way he did in Wisconsin.
In every state.
Right.
Yeah.
We need them in every state. And
but hopefully this is one of the field offices that the Biden campaign is opening.
Yeah.
It was also good news to see that Biden will be doing an interview with Univision.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And
yeah.
I hadn't seen that. That's good.
Yeah. He's out there. And honestly, right now his successes are so obvious to everybody that Fox News is having to like complain about really ridiculous things. I mean,
did you talk about the jobs report?
Oh, no,
jobs report today,
Yeah. Right. The jobs report today is the perfect example of that, right? So we have 303,000 jobs that it makes it a very strong. I mean, there's no question about the fact that Biden is the jobs president, right? I mean, other than California, the jobs are booming everywhere.
Yeah, so the unemployment is down.
California is pretty flat, but everybody else is having a good jobs report. And so Fox News was not, I don't think they were expecting.
Well, economists were expecting 200,000.
Right.
So 303 was a surprise for everyone. And they just have a really hard time telling good news on Fox.
they
good news they have a hard time telling good news if it's connected to Biden.
I was going to say, if it was Trump that was doing the good news, they'd have no problem snorting it all over the place. But they immediately like pivoted over to here it is, Maria Bartiromo, who is honestly is just such a shill.
Going wacky as she got older.
Yeah, I know. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with her, but she used to be
normal,
a legitimate business reporter.
Yeah, she used to be a normie. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
She started hanging out with Roseanne.
So yeah,
well, she was never normal. Speaking of a wacky shoe. Sorry.
Yeah, so she, I mean, they have this strong jobs report, and so she talks about, oh my God, the stock market, is at risk now because of interest rates. So the markets went up a lot today, by the way. There was a sell-off for the last couple of days, but it went up today. And she's like, the Joe Biden is proposing stuff on taxes that's going to mess up the stock market. And I mean, it just goes on. Like, they could not just say, this is a good jobs report. This is a great jobs report. Yeah. They couldn't say that on Fox News. It was nope. Wasn't coming out of Maria Bartiromo's mouth. No way. So then and then she pivots to Trump's leading in 6 out of the 7 swing states. Only if you know anything about those polls that came out, it was a Trump pollster that did them.
Right.
Yeah. So and unfortunately, it was picked up by CNN and they were yammering over it. And I had to I listen to CNN in the early morning, like I'll wake up at 6 and not want to get out of bed yet. And so I'll just turn CNN on my Sirius XM and listen to it. And I couldn't do it. I was like literally throwing my headphones across the room. It was like, what are you people doing with this? And then that made me have to go look up what these polls were. And then I realized, oh, it's a Trump pollster. Duh, no wonder.
Who was it?
I don't remember the name. Oh. It just, yeah.
Not a legit.
Not one of the ones that gets included in the averages, like somebody that does state polls, but it's So, and this is why, by the way, I don't take any reports of polls on cable news or anywhere else including the New York Times or Washington Post, all that seriously right now, because number one, I don't know who's answering these polls anymore. I mean,
Right.
this is a fundamental problem with polls, is people
Yeah.
don't want to answer them. They have cell phones and they have caller
Caller ID.
ID.
All right.
So
Yeah.
they're not going to answer like an unknown call, especially young people. They're
Yeah.
not going to do it. So we don't know who's getting polled. We don't know how they're weighting things. We don't have no clue on that. So
Right.
they're unreliable. And I just say, we just have to keep our nose to the grindstone and keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Yeah.
with it.
Speaking of the stocks, Truth Social's stock went down
Nice segue.
another 11% today.
Oh, really? I mean,
So it was trading at around 70 last week. Today it closed at 40.
Yeah. But that's still an obscene price for something that basically $200 million went into, and he lost $59 million.
Well, you know what?
I mean, the whole
He's got
valuation
6
on that is
months.
nuts.
We've got another 6 months for it to continue to go down.
Right, exactly. And it will. But
Yeah, because the fundamentals for a business are not there.
Yeah.
the only thing I can think of, though, is that it'll get bolstered in some way. I mean, we don't know who the investors in that SPAC were, so we don't know.
Right.
But Jeffrey Yass was one, Mr.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's that?
Jeffrey Yass.
Jeffrey
Oh,
Yass.
Mr. TikTok. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. TikTok. Right. So
You
he
know,
was one.
The
And,
SPAC is kind of like a legal way to launder money to them.
money. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
And,
we're gonna have to see.
we will have to see about that.
But, in the meantime, he's just like posting more and more outrageous stuff in order to get attention, on there. Like like the only reason anybody goes there, in my opinion, is just to see whatever he's spewing.
Whatever
right?
nut job crap he's
It's like his
spewing.
cult goes on there to do it, and then of course we go on there just to see what he's spewing, and
I
because
wait for
know.
other people to post.
I was going to say,
I'm
I just wait for our writer, for Conover to do it. I just wait for, I don't go on there. I can't.
Well, by we, I mean Crooks and Liars.
Right.
You have to.
We have to do that.
You
But-
have to.
Yeah, Crooks and Liars has like a designated Truth Social person who has like manages to. She's got an iron stomach, and she's got.
She does, and she can do
She
that.
must. She must.
No, she does. She does. I mean, I don't know how she does it, because honestly, some of the stuff that I see him post, like, I want to throw stuff whenever I see it.
She's just got
She laughs
the
at
best
it. so
attitude.
she's
She
good
loves
with it.
trolling him, but
Well, speaking of money laundering, questions about the bond that he posted.
yeah, I was hoping we were going to cover some of the trial stuff that's going on. Yeah,
I think that's next.
very good.
This is our segue. This is our segue.
Yes,
into-
well done.
So
Well done. You're
which
A+
is
on the segues.
a sketch dude, right? Has the bond, or
Totally sketch.
basically, or guarantees the bond. The best part of this is that the day he guarantees the bond, he adds a receivable to his balance sheet for $183.5 million.
What does
Right?
that mean, to add a receivable? Does that mean he basically deposits?
It's like all of a sudden somebody owes me $183.5 million, and I add that to my balance sheet as an asset, right? So I just bloated my balance sheet by that. And then I put the bond on the other side for $175 million. Here's the problem with that, right? The guy that guaranteed the bond is at risk for the entire amount. You can't put an accounts receivable of that same amount on the asset side. It's
and
not
call
an
that
asset.
an asset, right?
You can't do that. So the whole thing is
I'm so
bogus. It's just
confused.
bullshit.
Okay.
And
I said I'm so confused.
James has rightly questioned,
Right.
the finances of this guy.
Who has questioned it? You said someone has rightly questioned.
Letitia
Tish
James.
James.
Oh, Letitia James. Okay, yep.
So just to be clear, because I feel like you're still confused. Basically, if he agrees to guarantee the $175 million, then
he has to have it.
He's got to have it on his balance sheet without any adjusting for what might be paid to him in
In the
what
future.
collateral might be paid to him.
Right.
It's just it's a liability, plain and
He
simple.
has to actually have it in his bank account, basically, right?
Right.
Right.
Okay. So,
But he
but
doesn't.
instead, what he did, instead of doing that, is what he did is he created this fictitious asset called, let's just call it Trump bond payment. Okay. And which is unsecured. It's just a thing that he put on his balance sheet. It's like, okay, it's like if you invented,
He promises to pay me Tuesday for a hamburger he's going to eat today.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like one of us decided to, yeah, I'll do your bond. And we submitted something saying, I've got this 183 million coming in.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I promise.
I promise I do, but I really don't, because that's
Yeah.
just Trump saying that he'll pay it if I need to. So
Yeah.
it's bogus, and it
defeats the purpose of the bond in the first
Exactly.
place.
So now that has to be fixed, and if it's not fixed by the 10-day deadline, then property starts getting.
So this was just another way for him to extend the deadline.
Exactly.
Illegitimately.
Well, I don't know if it was to extend the deadline. I think it was really just a way for him to get a bond in time. I mean, I think he's having trouble securing a bond. If you're going to this guy out here, the guy that sells the used cars, you're already in trouble.
And who is this guy?
He's he's like the guy that you see, if no credit, bad credit, we can finance your car.
But who is he? Is he someone we know? Is he a player that has existed in the Trump circle
billionaires list? He's on the Forbes billionaire list. That's all I know.
All right. So we've never
other
heard
than
of this guy before, really.
I honestly know him as the no credit, bad credit, we can sell you a car guy.
Right. He's a long-time Republican donor.
Okay. All right. That was my question. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he bailed Trump out on one of his property loans, or some of his property loans earlier.
Oh, okay.
So in other legal news, John Eastman is about to be disbarred. He's not allowed to practice law in California right now because it was recommended that he be disbarred. And so that puts a halt on his law license. But the Supreme Court actually has to disbar him. They haven't done that yet.
The California
Supreme Court, or the
California Supreme Court. Yeah. And now Jeffrey Clark is going down that same road too. They've found that he violated ethics. Oh, big surprise!
Shocker. Also in California, or is he in a different state?
No, DC.
DC. Okay.
Yeah. And his testimony was really shocking. I mean, when he said he represented Trump and not the American people, I was just
Department of Justice employee.
Yeah. Just amazing. So there's that. But the real interesting case to me is the Eileen Cannon ruling. So Jack Smith basically he threw down and said,
okay, this needs explaining.
What you want with regard to the Presidential Records Act, it doesn't even apply. He's being charged with the Espionage Act, not the other. And essentially said, none of these instructions will work because it's not about the Presidential Records Act. And if you don't make a decision on that, I'm going to go to the 11th Circuit and I'm going to ask for you. This would be basically her third strike if the 11th Circuit ruled in his favor, and she'd get removed from the case. So she slithered out of this by denying Trump's request for the case to be thrown out on the basis of the Presidential
Records Act. Yeah.
Right.
However,
but the thing is, she left the door open for it to be raised during the trial. Well, if it's raised during the trial, then Jack Smith doesn't have an opportunity to appeal it. It will be because
double jeopardy
will attach, and he won't. So basically, this is a way for her to not decide and to preclude him from
bringing it up,
from appealing it to the 11th Circuit. So at this point, the legal eagles out there, the experts I respect, are saying he should take the fact that she won't decide this issue up to the 11th Circuit now and get her off the case. And I hope he does.
I hope he
mean,
does.
I have to think he knows that there's hardball going on here, and he's got to play it too.
Yeah. Do you think he will? I mean, is there any?
I mean, he's got a reputation as being a hard-nosed prosecutor. I can't believe that he wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise he'll lose this case, I think.
I can't believe that Aileen Cannon can outsmart Jack Smith.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there's so much speculation online that she is being coached.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I think she is too. I think
Leonard,
there's no question about
Heritage
that.
Foundation,
Yeah, Leonard Leo.
the
Yeah.
Justice Network, whatever that thing's called.
Right.
That,
No, I mean, all of the
Federalist Society, that they are calling the shots.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true. But Jack Smith isn't dumb either, and he knows. He's got to know, if these legal experts that we trust know it, he knows it too. So I would just watch that space and see what happens next in that. In the meantime, Trump's efforts to delay the Stormy Daniels trial in New York are done. I mean, that trial is starting April 15th.
10 days.
Jury selection begins April 15th. It will probably take a long time to get the jury.
I don't think so. I mean,
No?
based on, I mean, we'll see, but I don't think so. I think,
Okay.
jury selection is definitely more of an art than a science, but it still goes pretty fast.
It's not like they have to find 12 people who have never heard of Trump or Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, that's impossible.
They just have to find 12 people, not just as if it's the easiest thing in the world, especially in New York. They have to find 13, excuse me, people who are convincing enough that they can decide the case impartially, based on the facts that are presented. And, they can't have, associations with either of them and, that sort of thing. So, I mean,
So I've heard rumbles that he'll settle it because he doesn't want everything that would come out, but I don't know.
Wow. Would he have to attend this trial? Is this one of the?
It's a criminal trial.
Person every day. Yeah.
It's a criminal trial.
Just like
how do you settle it? Oh, I guess you could take a plea.
You take a
deal, knock
Yeah.
it down to a misdemeanor and, it's community service or something.
The only deal I would accept is for him to drop out of the race.
Well, let's have fun with that. What kind of community service can you see Trump doing?
Oh God, none, because he's too into himself. Yeah. So anyway,
never run for office again.
See what happens with that, and we'll see if he doesn't. And then of course Bonnie Willis is moving forward with hers, and one of the defendants in that case tried to, like, he did this bizarre motion. I can't think of what it was. Anyway, he's not going to succeed with it either. So it's just amazing to me, like how convinced these people are that the election was stolen. Like, I mean, I remember, as an example, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but in 2004, I was convinced that Ohio was fucked up, that something happened in Ohio.
Yeah.
Right. And that screwed it up. We already knew that basically Bush won Florida because the Supreme Court said he did, right? Not because that was
not
in
because
2000.
the numbers were. Yeah.
But in 2004, it just didn't feel right. And I remember going through the numbers, like precinct by precinct, and everything. But at the end of the day, there was nothing that I could prove. It was just a feeling I had that, but I didn't sit there and say, oh, the election was stolen for 6 years after that. I just
we moved on.
Yeah.
We dealt with it. We said, okay, we've got 4 more years of this turkey, and we dealt with it.
And these people, I believe, have been so conditioned to believe this because really the Republicans are the ones that are cheating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everything is projection.
Exactly. So anyway, that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I 100% agree with you. it's, every accusation is a confession.
Yeah.
So,
So when
Aliza, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Donna.
no,
Sorry.
I was just going to say that when Trump accuses Biden of taking drugs before he gives a speech, that's what Trump's doing.
Yes, he wants Biden to take a drug test or something, right?
Yeah, I double dog dare him to go forward with that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
You do it first, baby. Then
Yeah, you first. You and your son.
yeah, exactly.
You and Junior. Who
So we've
snorts a
got just a
baseball.
few minutes left.
Well, Carol, you
No
said my name,
labels.
so I
No
want to know.
labels is gone.
Yes, I want to
And
know what Carol wanted, though.
RFK Jr. remains.
Yeah,
Oh God. Yeah. So no labels, I think, is done forever.
that would be great.
I don't think it's just for this year because Joe Lieberman drove that and
It
he's done.
was it was a Joe Lieberman joint, you know?
Yeah. So I think no labels is done. Now RFK Jr. is just a fucking loon, right? I mean, his
Mhm.
whole family's come out and
Yes,
said that.
he is.
There's
He sent
it's
out a fundraising email
oh
calling
my
the
God.
January 6th rioters
Mhm,
activists.
mhm. And so it turns out that he's got somebody on his staff that is from the right, right? It's from
MAGA. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
he's supported by Bannon. It was Bannon's idea for him to run.
right. So this is why I don't worry about him as much because I feel like he's peeling off the voters that are sort of the Joe Rogan
hmm
incel that group, and they're not going to vote for Biden anyway, right? They're
Well, he's
gonna,
also peeling off some of it's the horseshoe thing, the people on the far left who
but you don't know that they would vote for Biden
that's
either. I mean,
true.
they would
they're
probably
looking for any
stay home,
excuse not to vote for Biden.
Yeah.
Those
right?
people.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't. They'd find something. They wouldn't vote for him and vote for a down ticket or something. You know what I'm saying? They just wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about them siphoning from Biden. I think they will take away from Trump, and that's good. We want that. And
Yeah,
that's, by the way, what I think the Democrats should be messaging is like, look at this guy. He's in bed with Trump. He's the
yeah,
same, there's no difference between him and Trump. There's no
yeah,
daylight. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
His synapses aren't firing. There's something just not. There's a screw loose with him for
yeah,
real.
for real.
Yeah. I
Yes.
believe so.
Yeah. Something isn't right.
Something
So,
with the steroids and the, I don't know. Something's not working right with him.
yeah, I agree. Something isn't. So Aliza,
Yes.
how's traffic now with your bridge? Is that why you were stuck earlier?
No, it's not why I didn't plan my time well is why I was stuck earlier. And I ended up and I was not in traffic because I was on that side of the beltway. I was in traffic
Oh,
because it was rush hour and I
well,
didn't plan my time
yeah.
well. But the Oriole on the way home, I was listening to the O's game, which was at an odd time for a Friday afternoon, but they're in Pittsburgh.
Uh-huh.
And I heard that both the Orioles and the Ravens are joining together. To each team is donating $5 million to the restoration of the bridge.
Nice.
And
Uh-huh.
the whole town is just really coming together. And Wes Moore is doing a great job, and Brandon Scott is doing a good job, and everybody is really um,
That's
you
great.
know, I think there'll be at least a temporary replacement up sooner rather than later.
They
And
said
I,
that they're going to have access to the channel, limited access to the channel, opened up by the end of the month.
yeah, well, the
That's
cranes are
great.
all there now. They're already lifting up, huge chunks of the bridge are coming out of the water already. And, it's just, I try to continue to always think about, the families. There are still,
Yeah.
people who haven't been found that we know must have died, and we're hoping that happens soon, so that at least they can have closure.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll keep you posted on what's going on with that. But yeah, people were tongue in cheek, kind of funny about the bridge, and then the earthquake, and then the eclipse is Monday, and they're like, make it stop, Maryland, make it stop. I personally did not feel the earthquake this morning, but people in Baltimore did. It was shallow enough. It was only about how many miles? 4 miles down, or 6 miles
Pretty
down.
shallow.
It was pretty shallow.
Yeah.
And it was a 4.8. So, it was enough to be felt, but, by California standards, it's not
Well,
huge.
yeah, but we have
Be
more
felt by
earthquakes than you
California
guys do.
standards. But
Yeah.
guys, we are over. We've gone
sorry.
over our hour already.
I just want to point out
So-
your yard sign back there. I love it.
Oh, I love that. Your Dark Brandon. I wanted to say something too. I love that Dark Brandon sign. I need to get that.
Me too. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So, there we go. That is our show for the week. Join us next time on YouTube, MOMocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
MOMocrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.